Welcome to Last Call. Kelly Stewart here. And this might be my last call for a while if I can convince Steve Merrill to fill in for me next weekend because I will be in Vegas. We've got Art DiCesare, who's also in Vegas right now. And of course, VR, that's what his name is. Vegas runner. Teddy Covers and Tokyo Brandon for today's lineup. You guys have a question for any one of those gentlemen, please drop it in the chat. Throw us a rotation number if you've got it. Open up your odds logic screen or your WagerTalk free odds screen. Follow along with us as we get into some of these Final Four games. We've got some NBA on the slate today, and of course, Major League Baseball. And we even have this college basketball crown, which I still don't fully understand. But if you have a question about that, you can get it answered in the chat as well. Let's bring in Art DiCesare from the Westgate Superbook. Thank you for hanging out with us on a very busy day, Art. I know that I will be there on Monday, but I'm kind of sad that I ended up changing my flight. I'm not there for the Final Four. I know you guys are one of the best places to watch the games.
Yeah, it's a great day. I mean, obviously, with the two big games, you got two great games. And then all the other stuff, all the NBA, all the NHL. You got big horse racing today. You got baseball. I mean, it's a really nice Saturday in Vegas. So the book should be packed. Should be a lot of energy in the crowds. Should be a lot of fun.
So I have yet to hedge my Florida bet. I said if I got on the odds logic screen and there was a 3, I would at least bet a couple of dimes on the +3, and it just hasn't happened. Every time there was a 3, it's been gone like that. And since basically last 48 hours, there hasn't been another 3, at least not one that has crossed my screen. Talk to me about this first game, Florida-Auburn, sitting at 2.5. There's a couple spots that are juiced. A couple of variants in the money lines as well, which I always find rather interesting. Tell me what you guys are seeing there at the Westgate Superbook, and maybe if you have any advice for me as far as my Florida Gators 40-1 future.
Well, I'm sure John has told you, Florida's our worst case scenario in the future book. You know, we do really well on Auburn. We do pretty well on Duke. Houston's a small loser, but Florida's the team we really want to get out of there. Obviously, it's been sitting Florida 2.5 for us for, as long as I can remember. And I don't even think we ever went to 3. Total sitting 160. We're a little high on the total. I think there's some 159s and 159.5s out there, but we've stayed pretty steady at 160. And we're dealing -105 for the Final Four, so don't forget that as well. Haven't budged off the money line of -150. I think because we've been offering the -105 for basically a week, we've seen good Florida money come in, but we just haven't budged off the number. So because we need Florida to be out of there for the future book and the game, we will definitely be rooting for Auburn in this game.
Yeah, the dogs just haven't been barking, Art. That's kind of the caveat here, and that's kind of what's got me a little bit in a conundrum with the next game. I want to love the Houston Cougars. You know that John Murray and I from the Kelly and Murray Show have a 10-1 future as well as our rollover. I want to take the 5.5, which there might not even be any left, so I may be speaking too early. There's 1 5.5 left on the screen. Everybody else is 5. You guys are 5 there at Superbook. Now there's some 4.5s popping up at some of the square shops. God, I really think if Houston can hit their 3s and not turn the ball over, this Duke team is beatable. Get into the trenches, play in the mud like they both like to do. 5.5 seems like a little bit of a stretch for me. I think this could be closer to a 3-point game. But Art, I eventually just took the +3 with the first half. Found a 3 in the first half, and I said, all right, Houston first half has been a good money maker for me. I did sprinkle a little bit on that first half money line as well. But I need to know your thoughts. I mean, you're telling me that Florida's the worst case scenario. I'm shocked Duke's not your worst case scenario.
Yeah, it's really not. I mean, obviously, Duke was one of the favorites coming into the season. We were basically low on them all year, whereas, you could have gotten Florida 80-1, 100-1 at points in the season. And obviously that number kept getting driven down. So it eventually got to a point where people didn't bet it anymore. But some of the early Florida money obviously put us in a little bit of a liability. But, in this game, we've been Duke 5 for a little bit. Obviously the 5.5s got gobbled up pretty quick, 136.5. The funny thing is we're a little bit higher on the Duke money line, dealing -275 because everything today is going to be Duke money line parlays. They're going to be in every 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teamer. Duke is going to be one of the legs. So we look at it like that, where we know, It's funny. Duke's a good case in the future. Probably good to have them in the Monday game to give that game a little bit more juice. But obviously, if they lose outright, it's going to knock a lot of the money line parlays out. We also had a house player, one of our good house players, come in and lay a nice 5-figure bet on Duke total points over 70.5. We're now 71.5. So we'll be sweating that as well, wanting the game to, like you said, be played in the mud, be ugly. And listen, Houston has the veterans. They've been around. They can definitely keep this game close. I think at 5.5, I would have played it, but obviously that is long gone.
All right. I will be there Monday hanging out in the book. We've got a booth for WagerTalk, as well as some of my local friends who do not work for WagerTalk. So if you guys are there, come by, say hi. Even though John Murray won't be there, I think Art will be there, and I will have him buy you guys some beers. All jokes aside, what are we dealing the national championship at? Are you guys going to stick with the -105 for the Natty?
Yeah, right now the plan is to stick -105 for the Monday game. And yeah, it's been good for us dealing these, fair sides and, fair splits. So it's worked out well for us.
Yeah, guys, 5 cents on every dollar you bet. If you do not know what -105 is versus -1010, it is absolutely the way to go. Art DiCesare, anything you would like to leave our audience with? Maybe a best bet for today?
Well, let me just throw a couple of Crown things out there. I know it's going to get to the back burner, but we saw good Boise money come in at -2. We're now 2.5. We'll need Nebraska in that game. They've been betting Boise this whole tournament. Total for us also has gone up from 154.5 to 155. That was a house player who took that over. We will be needing the under. He took a nice 5-figure bet there. The Nova game at 3.5 -157 or 157 on the total. Really no action to speak on that game, but the overs have been bet in all these smaller tournaments, so look for that. We try to stay higher, and I'm going to upset you a little bit, Kelly. I think my favorite bet of the day is Auburn, and I would take them on the money line.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. We're going to see. I got time. I have 7 hours to just make a real adult decision here. Okay, so then tell me, how about this? We'll leave you at that. Then I'll ask VR as well. So I have I have Florida 40-1. I'm not going to probably find a 3 on Auburn like I was hoping to. How would you hedge this Florida 40-1? I don't like that you said that they're your worst case scenario. And I really do think if Duke does win, and especially in convincing fashion, Florida will be a 3.5, 4-point underdog on Monday. That's not a great hedge scenario either. But I will be really, really, really mad at myself if Florida just wins this game single-handedly, no sweat, and I took 2.5 with Auburn or Auburn money line, and now kind of got rid of some of my equity in my futures ticket.
Yeah, it's so tough because you have a scenario where you could have Houston and Florida, then you're sitting pretty on Monday night. So it's tough. 40-1. I'm a believer in hedging a little bit and getting something out of it. And it's really tough.
So what would you do? Would you take Auburn plus 2.5 and hope for some crazy thread the needle middle, right? Yeah. 2.5-point middle. Florida wins by 1. Yeah. Florida wins by 1. Florida wins by 2. Or would you take Auburn on the money line for maybe a little bit more substantial of amount to guarantee yourself a chunk of change?
Yeah, I like the plus money because to me, is the game really going to fall 1 or 2? It feels tough to think that could. I mean, listen, obviously it could happen, but it just feels like you're putting yourself in a position there where you're begging for 1 or 2, and it's probably a 5 to 10 point game either way. I like sprinkling a little bit on a money line. You're looking at plus 130, maybe even plus 135. To me, that would be the move.
All right, Art DiCesare is the best. Thank you for joining us early there on the West Coast. I will see you on Monday. Hopefully buying drinks at Naked City after a Florida Gators national championship. Let's bring in Vegas runner, Gianni Corrales, Greek gambler. You guys know him, the man of many names. I'm going to try. Actually, I need to follow up to see if we're going to be able to play some blackjack. That is something I did not do. It was on my to-do list yesterday. I will shoot that text over right now. Hopefully VR is going to give me a little blackjack lesson so that I do not have a repeat of the Virgin Voyages cruises I just went on. That being
Yeah,
said,
usually not fair games on these cruises. Usually ain't getting a good game blackjack.
Yeah, eight shoe blackjack is not the name of the game. I did, however, meet up with everybody last night, and we talked about the historic run that I went on to almost get back to even on the last night, and didn't quite get there, but I will take it. It could have been far, far worse of a trip. Let's kind of get into these couple of games, what you're seeing from behind the counter. Art just mentioned some stuff in the Crown, maybe some NBA or MLB you've got over there, and then let's talk hedge scenario, please.
Yeah, everything's all about national championship today. I mean, the Final Four, forgive me, and see which teams get to the national championship for Monday. I mean, NBA, until the playoffs get here, Kel, it's really not attracting much action. What most of the sharps and the betting syndicates are doing, they're betting the overnights. They're moving the line in one direction, especially the totals, most notably the totals. And then once they move significantly the next morning, next afternoon, a lot of times they come back and they work some middles. The only size I've been seeing in the NBA is when players are sitting out. And unless you have the odds logic screen and you're getting that update real quickly and are logged into a couple credit shops that are a little slower than the screen, it's hard to get down because those lines move quickly. We saw the Spurs just the other night. I gave them out to my subscribers at plus 9.5. And within, I think, 3 minutes, it was down to like plus 4. Those are the kind that you could take advantage of up until the playoffs. Once the playoffs get here, then you'll see more NBA action. What they're doing today with the NBA is they're just simply tying in money lines, the favorites money line, and the only big favorites really are the T-Wolves, which are like 16-point favorites now, and the Clippers, which are about 8-point favorites. They're using those money lines into parlays with the Final Four. In Major League Baseball, it's a little bit different. The parlays that they're using are any of the big chalk. The Atlanta Braves, because they're over a 2-1 favorite. The Detroit Tigers, because they go off early. They're being tied into the Final Four games. And even a little bit of Texas over Tampa Bay at home. Those three are sticking out the most that are being tied into what we're seeing as far as the Final Four action goes. Some of the sharper bets in Major League Baseball today, look at 964 Minnesota. They jumped up to about a minus 120, 125 favorite from the opener of about minus 115. We bet Minnesota. And also the under. We bet under 8.5 in Baltimore, Kansas City. That's now sitting at 8. That's one of those where I'm already seeing over money, a lot of over money from the betting public. That actually sticks out as one of the more one-sided overs. So you got sharps on the under in Baltimore, Kansas City, and you have the recreational bettors betting the over in Baltimore and Kansas City. Those two stick out the most. And the one-sided public, they're betting a lot of these overs in Major League Baseball. It's like they're almost afraid to bet an under. I'm telling you, like Miami Atlanta, Kel, is 100%, not a single under bet on that Miami Atlanta game. That's why it's for me up to 8.5. That's all public money related. It's not the sharp bettors that move that up. Same thing, Houston and Minnesota over. That's almost 100% of the tickets and the money is on the over in Houston, Minnesota. And then that last game in the AL, Cleveland and LA, another one where almost 100% of the money is on the over. They're straight betting the over and they're parlaying Cleveland with the over. And then in the interleague games, every single one of them, all 5 of them are betting over. I'm talking like I don't see only in the San Francisco Seattle game do I see one bet on the under. Every other one is and it's not a lot of volume because it's early in the morning. It's still 8:15 out here on the West Coast. But 9 out of 10, almost 10 out of 10 tickets are on the over in the Yankees game, over in St. Louis, over in Toronto, over in Oakland, and like I said, over in that Seattle San Francisco game. But you will notice in Toronto and the Mets game, that got steamed under. We bet the overnights at under 8 and then followed through under 7.5. I talked about that in WagerTalk today throughout the week, that look out for what gets followed through the next morning because those totals, 7, 9, 11, the key is getting on the right side of those. And you'll see most of that has to happen overnight. even though the limits are low and you don't want to tip your hand, they know by morning it's not going to be available. So if there's a 7.5 and they want to go under, they're betting that the night before, even if it takes like I said, smaller limits. Then the next morning, that's what you want to pay attention to. Is it being followed through? Are they taking now a little bit of the under 7 as well? You see that. That's a strong, strong play. And the worst you could do in those spots, that's why I like them. It's almost like steam chasing, but you're not getting the worst of it, because the worst you're going to do is push. Like if they're going under 9.5 and you go under 9, the worst you could do is push if they win, that it lands on 9. They cash their under 9.5 and you push on 9. You can't lose that way. But if they're going like under 9 and you're going under 8.5, you don't want to chase like that, because the game lands 9, they push, you lose. You never want to put yourself in that position. But I learned from being a runner and, from providing accounts, even when I was hand betting them, that I was able to do and make a lot of money doing that. Because again, the worst case scenario, I was lamed in on a push when they were winning. And it's those small times that happens, but you never want to lose when those guys are pushing, because that's going to be the difference between being profitable and not being profitable. Now, as far as the Final Four game, and then you could jump in here and tell me what you think. So far, what I'm seeing is Florida, Duke. They're being money line bet, money line parlays, straight bets, laying the points, ATS, and even teasing. So they're teasing Duke down to where they just more or less have to win the game. And now they're flipping it to where Florida's the dog. That's sticking out more than anything else. The totals, I thought it was going to be all one-sided, over, but it's really not. And that's why I don't think you're seeing too much movement in the totals. And unless any of the betting syndicates get involved, we're probably not going to see any big moves today, because these lines are so tight. We talk about it all the time when the NFL playoffs get here, then when the Super Bowl gets here, that, more times than not, unless they're attacking a total, the sides they usually leave alone and attack the props instead, because that late in the season, they're really tight. Like, it's hard to find an inefficient number unless there's a lot of bias involved. Like, there's a narrative on the matchup and there's bias involved, and the books are forced to shade the line. Like if a number 7 squeezed in here, a number 6 squeezed in here, a number 5, then I think there would be some biases. But because you have 4 number 1s and 4 of the best number 1s we've seen in a very long time, you're getting not sharp money bet on the sides. That's why you haven't seen any movement on the side. What I can tell you is a group that I work with, they want Auburn +3. If I could find Auburn, get a 3 on Auburn, they'll take it. They just don't want to lay vig to get that 3, but they want Auburn at 3. And they also bet the under in the Florida game, and they bet the under in the Duke-Houston game, but at the opener at like 162.5, 161.5. So they did attack the totals a little bit, but so far not the sides, except, like I said, if they could get Auburn at +3. And finally, I'll tell my adjustments as far as power rating goes, that I trust somebody that's really good with these, and he only bets college basketball. And going into the March Madness, into the tournament, he had Florida as the second best offense, Auburn as the first best offense, and he had Florida 8th and Auburn 10th. After the tournament, now going into the Final Four, he's adjusted, where Florida he now has as the number 1 offense, Auburn number 2, but he downgraded Florida's defense. So now he has Florida's defense at 10th, and he upgraded Auburn's defense from where they were barely a top 10 team. Now he's got them at number 5. So Auburn defense a lot better as the tournament progressed. In the Houston-Duke game, Houston's offense has improved, which is good, because they were barely a top 10 offense. Out of the 4 teams remaining, they were the weakest offensively. But he upgraded them to where they're now like a 7th. They're sitting at 7th, and number 1 defense. They were number 2 coming into the tournament. Now they're number 1. No questions asked. This is the best defense remaining. Duke, they're the most balanced. They were the most balanced coming in. They were the only team that was top 5 offense, top 5 defense, and defense stayed the same. No adjustment there. A slight adjustment towards the improvement side on the Duke offense. So what I'm getting at is you're looking at 4 very, very close teams as far as on paper. Obviously, Duke's the most balanced, but they're facing a number 1 defense. And if Houston could slow that team down and make their shots, I think 5 looks like a little bit too high for me. And on the flip side, Auburn and Florida as well. I think Auburn is live as a live dog there. I'm a little bit biased. I will tell you that because I do have futures on Auburn. I do have futures on Houston. I have no intentions to hedge any of these because I actually lean those way unless the guys that I respect or any of the groups I move for came in opposite. I wasn't going to hedge these bets. Like if they came in on Duke, if they came in on Florida, then I have to reassess my position. But right now, not seeing sharp money lining up against me, I'm not hedging a single penny. My subscribers know we have 22 units pending on Auburn, 15 units pending on Houston. At least one of these teams, I think, has the ability to get to the national championship. I would love them both to get there, but I don't think we get both favorites today. Like I said, these are 4 very, very, very comparable teams. And to see both favorites get there, I'd be more surprised than actually seeing both dogs get there.
DR, that's, I guess, where I'm sitting. Like, I feel like I'm in a really good position and I don't want to hedge. I know a lot of what I would say people that I would respect, people that you could call sharp, liked Auburn. Some people got 3. I did not get 3. I think it's sitting at 2.5. Do you think I try to go for that 2.5 point middle? Or is that just asking for everything to go your way?
Honestly, I would wait and see if you get 3 closer to tip-off because the public hasn't spoken. Remember, 2 things are going to move money other than injuries, suspensions, weather, stuff that we have no control over. It's a sharp account betting it, a respected bettor that gets CLV. They're going to move on that to stop others from doing it as well, or a lot of money. Like when they have a ton of risk, rarely they're books that are going to take a position because when you're getting 11 to 10, you could take some risk. And even if you're wrong, you don't have to be right even 50% of the time to turn a profit. They have that built-in edge, but they're going to tend to move their line to limit their risk, their liability, especially if it's one-sided. Like if they're getting 8 out of 10 tickets and 80% of the money coming in on Florida, even if it's not sharp, they're not going to want to have all that risk on the outcome of one game. They're going to try to attract some Auburn money. And the public hasn't spoken yet. Like I said, that we're now 5-6 hours away from that Florida-Auburn game. They're going to be betting some of these early Major League Baseball games, see how they're doing. Then they're going to start attacking the college basketball Final Four. There is a possibility that we see these lines move. If they keep coming in one-sided on Florida, which is I'm already seeing, I think that one has a higher probability to getting the 3 than Duke. Because I'm seeing some two-way action. It kind of worries me a little bit because I am seeing two-way action on Duke and Houston because, it looks like a lot of points covering 5 against such a good defense. And it's the lowest total, 136.5. So points count more, and getting 5 with Houston seems to be attractive because that one's not as one-sided from the betting public as the Florida one, which is why I think if you sit back, there's a chance, at least 60-40, I think in your favor, that you're going to be able to get a 3 on Florida. Worst case on Auburn. Worst case scenario, I know you bet into a -105 shop like I do because you actually hooked me up with it. I would even lay the 10 cents there and lay 115 to get the 3. Again, it's a high total, 160, so it's not as good as if this was the 136.5 total. Then I'd say it's automatic. It don't matter if you're laying 115. Take the 3 on Auburn. Hope it lands somewhere in the middle. Again, is it probable they're going to win by 1 or 2? Probably not. But it's not a bad bet, and you have so much equity you can do that. Like if you had a little bit of equity, I'd say, you know what? You're probably better off taking Auburn money line and trying to make money that way. But I would be a little bit greedy here. I would sit back and see if I could get a 3 because I do see in 2 shops that I respect, they're already charging -115 at 2.5. So it tells you they don't want to go to 3 because, like I said, they already know there's guys out there waiting to grab that 3 because anytime a book went to 3, they took it. Early in the week, I mean, even on the strip, Caesars was 3, it got picked off. Any book that has gotten the 3, they're there looking to take it. Circa was at 3 earlier in the week. They got taken out as well. But I do think you have a shot of getting 3 on Auburn. And in that case, I would take it above the money line.
All right, VR, anything else you'd like to leave our audience with? Any more MLB or NHL?
I give you a UFC. I give some of UFC because I got a 5% play today. I love my card today already, and I fired 2 4% plays. I'll give you one that I like at heavyweight because I just released it yesterday. A 4% play on Martin Boudet. This is a really good spot for him. It just doesn't get respect because he's not a finisher. At heavyweight, that's what you want to see. You want to see finishes, and he's just not that kind of guy. He's able to grind out a decision. Since his knockout in the first round in the Contender Series in 2021, he's won 5 of his 6 UFC fights. But because 4 of them have been by decision, he's just not getting that respect. And more importantly, he's coming off a split decision. This is why I like him a lot. A split decision that many thought he lost against Andrei Arlovsky, who's 45 years old. So he's coming off arguably his worst performance, which definitely some recency bias, and now going up against an opponent who's making his UFC debut on short notice. Like, talk about being behind the 8 ball. Anything less than minus 200, I think warrants a big bet. Wins this one 2 out of 3 times easily, if not a little bit more than that. I love Martin Boudet today in UFC. So there's a free 4% for you guys.
I did take plus 260 with Josh Emmett.
Ooh, that's live.
I apologize. I should have probably logged in to see what your 5% play was, but I did take a little bit of that. One of my, we'll call her the witch. If you guys watch a little bit of the BetQL stuff from the college football playoff, there was a little bit of divine intervention there, if you will, maybe this written in the stars. But I had her look into it today, and she said, "Hey, listen, I think that they provide some good value here. He has real opportunities." I was going to ask, do you agree?
Yeah, this is a huge step up. It's hard to fade Murphy right now because of his momentum, his trajectory, but he is moving up in class. He's now fighting in a main event, and he's fighting arguably one of the toughest outs in that weight class. And he's got that X factor, which is the power. So even if he finds himself behind in the scorecards, like, he's always live to land that big shot. And more importantly, another key here, they're fighting at the UFC Apex. So it's a smaller octagon. That favors the power guy compared to the more finesse guy who's going to use his movements, going to need that movement to stay away from the power. Emmett's going to be able to close that distance with him. And if he lands that big shot, we don't know whether Murphy's going to be able to withstand it. So Emmett's one of those guys who's been very profitable as an underdog. He just doesn't get that respect that he's earned, and he's going to fight for your money. And in a fight that's favored at least 2-1, I think, last I checked, to go the distance, you're going to be holding your breath with Murphy. Like, the whole 25 minutes, you're going to be holding your breath that Emmett doesn't land the big shot. So that, for me, I like that bet as well. I will be on it also. So, yeah, I hope you're right there. I think there's a lot of value on the Emmett side. And you can't bet the Murphy side now because he opened minus 220. Like, he went to 240, went to 260, went to 280, went to 300. Like, what were you waiting for? Why would you want to bet him now at the top when you could have got him at it? If you bet him at minus 200, 220, 240, great bet, regardless of outcome. You got a ton of CLV. You did your job. But now, you're not doing, that's not doing the job. That's trying to predict the outcome and, actually even have some good luck shine upon you because you're not getting the best of it. You're not betting from any position of strength. You're taking the last number. So yeah, that's why I made it easy for me. Like I talked about in the UFC show, this is it for someone like myself that just looks to take advantage of inefficient lines. It's an easy one for me. It's Emmett or pass, because unless I bet Murphy earlier, I can't bet him now. Can't bet him at minus 330, 340, what he was when we taped the show, when I know he opened minus 200. Like how much EV is there going to be in that bet? Not much at all. If anything, it's negative EV now. So yeah, it's Emmett or pass, and I like that bet. I'll be on it too, Cal. I hope he gets the win.
Awesome stuff from VR. WT.buzz/VR if you are looking for that 5% UFC play for today. Let's bring in Teddy Covers, who's been crushing not only NBA, but also MLB. 16-5 over the last 21 games. That's plus 32 units. 6-1 this week in MLB. And I tailed you last night, Teddy. So thank you. I needed a little bit of action. We were going to a barbecue, and I knew they were going to have baseball on, and I was like, let me bet a couple of these totals. So that was fun. I think I tailed you, and Scott Rickenbaugh, because I like to look at who's doing well on the WagerTalk leaderboard. It's great because it just says, hey, ride the hot hand. So that is exactly what I like to do. Let's get into a couple of these baseball or NBA games. If you guys have a question, drop it in the chat. And we'll also save some of the baseball prop stuff for Tokyo Brandon, who will be up in about 15 minutes.
Sure. Where do you want me to go? You want me to start with a little baseball? Let's do that because we do have a 5% big ticket play going in MLB this afternoon. We cashed one yesterday as part of a 3-0 sweep. Fortuitous cover with the Pistons in the last 10 seconds of that ball game, or whatever, the last minute and a half of that ball game. Detroit scored the final 8-2 run to close out in the last minute and a half. That was what I needed and what the clients needed. We got there and cashed. So we swept again last night again 3-0, 11-2 across sports this week. So it's been pretty good. I'm looking at Arizona today, again, against Washington in D.C. And this is a starting, I'm the anti-quant when it comes to starting pitching matchups. I could give a crap who starts. I'm and I'm saying that facetiously, but there's truth to it. Oftentimes, I'm very comfortable backing the weaker starter in a situation where I've got the better lineup and the better bullpen. And there's no comparison between these two lineups, Washington and Arizona. Arizona's the top quartile at MLB and everything already. They're tearing the cover off the ball. Washington, not so much. So lineup advantage strongly in Arizona's favor. Bullpen advantage strongly in Arizona's favor as well. The Nationals bullpen has spent the first part of the season getting lit up and lost another game last night. It's neither fresh nor effective. Arizona's got the better pen. Arizona's got the better lineup. And the price is cheap. Kettle Marte is not going to play today. Don't know how serious his injury is. But with his absence, this guy's getting to pick'em range. -122 I'm seeing on my Odds Logic live odds screen at the Circa here in Vegas. -124 offshore in the global books. That's cheap for the vastly superior team, even when they don't have a starting pitching edge. So I like Arizona today as short road chalk in DC.
All right, little road chalk for Teddy covers on the baseball field. Teddy, let's give out some NBA stuff. VR mentioned, hey, look, we're not seeing a ton, right? And that's fair. I get it. His job is to report what he's seeing from sharp groups, what he's betting. And he kind of said, hey, look, there's not a ton of value here. But clearly you are finding value right now on the hardwood, even though we're not into the playoffs yet.
I love late season NBA because of exactly what VR was talking about. Nobody bets this stuff. All right. Once the NCAA tournament starts in the middle of March, NBA handle goes down, NBA volume goes down, the line moves aren't there, and the close attention to current form isn't there in the markets. And to me, that's an opportunity. It feels like year in, year out. I want to go back and look, but it feels like year in, year out from the beginning of March Madness through the end of the regular season. This has been one of my best times in the NBA, and it's been that way again this year. Again, 16-5 with the last 21 over the last, I think it's close to 3 weeks now. For today's card, I'm just going. I'm the one game that I passed a priori, Minnesota Philly. I have no idea what the Philly playing hard and there's no talent. So I don't know if Minnesota's going to win that by 16 and a half. That to me was a little bit much. I'm involved for the clients on Memphis, Detroit. It's a very obvious play, in my opinion. If you want it, visit my page. But I think you can figure out what the play is for this one. Detroit clinched their playoff spot last night, first playoff spot since 2019. So that's a client play for me today. So let's talk about the rest of it. Knicks and the Hawks. Tempted by Atlanta. My first lean here was Atlanta. Plus, I think the spot is right. They're coming off a hard-fought loss. The Knicks may or may not have Brunson back today. There's a lot of moving pieces with the Knicks in terms of the backcourt. McBride is still out. Campaign may be able to play today. So they could have two of their top 3 point guards back. They've been playing without any of them in recent weeks. But the injury there was too iffy for the Knicks. If Brunson comes back, I'm more inclined to take Atlanta. I love fading a team in the first game where the star comes back. The Knicks are playing the first of back-to-backs. They have a second tomorrow. I think it's more likely Brunson suits up in Phoenix. So my lean there is Atlanta at 3.5. I'm not pulling the trigger on that one. Milwaukee, Miami. Certainly Miami's playing good basketball right now. Consistently good basketball. That being said, I don't know that they're better than the Bucks. I don't know that Milwaukee's owned them this season. and Milwaukee's playing interested basketball right now. It feels like a pick'em type game. It's priced in a pick'em range. The money's the favorite has switched from Milwaukee to Miami there. And to me, that line is, right around pick'em. That's where I priced it. That's where it's been. I'm not doing anything with that one. Dallas and the Clips is interesting. Dallas got run out of the gym last night. In general, second of back-to-backs, when we look at these type of teams, like playing two games in the same venue and on back-to-back nights or even with a night off in between, the team that got destroyed in the first meeting tends to step up and play a little better in the second meeting. But from an injury standpoint, I don't know who's playing for Dallas. There's a whole lot of moving pieces. A bunch of guys got scratched yesterday before tip-off. And the Clips home court has been real strong. They've been playing urgent basketball. So the Clips aren't a team I'm necessarily looking to step in front of. I'm not convinced that Dallas gets everyone back today. So that, too, turns out to be a pass for this better. Slight lean there towards the under. But that total was 224 at the open. It's already down to 219.5, 220 at most books. So I missed the number for there. That's a quick NBA rundown for you guys. That's what I'm looking at for today's card.
Love that. I always appreciate the cliff notes, Teddy. What are we doing over the next few weeks, right? So I think 12 days or 14 days until the playoffs start. Give me some of your method to your madness.
This is my method. Pay attention. Watch NBA games. That's all you got to do. Okay. But I don't know how much we're going to have. So the final day of the regular season, I believe, is a week from tomorrow, Sunday. And then we get into the play-in games, and then the playoffs start that following weekend. So even the, quote, playoff don't start for 2 weeks. We'll be having playoff-level basketball probably for Monday or Tuesday of that, probably Tuesday of that week, following the final day of the regular season next Sunday. But what do? Pay attention to coaches' quotes. Pay attention to what they tell you they're going to do in that game. Pay attention to current form. Pay attention to what a team cares and if a team's let go of the rope. That's how. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's just paying attention and not worrying about these season-long numbers and what they're spitting out for point spreads. Current form means everything. And the last week of the NBA season, or 10 days of the NBA season, current form is every bit as important as it was 2 months ago or 4 months ago, or it's going to be a month from now. So that's my 2 cents on beating the NBA down the stretch. Just ignore the superfluous crap. Seeding is never a motivator. Once a team goes, never a motivator. That's one thing that's that's stood out to me over the years. Maybe a top 6 seed you don't have to play in the play-in game is a motivator. But if a team's 5 and they want to move up to 3, and lay an extra price, no, I never do that in the NBA, and it's worked well for me over the years.
All right, guys, I don't see any more questions in the chat. So I'm going to let Teddy go. He's got to rest up. We have a big night on Monday night. I'm going to get Teddy to drink at least 3 cranberry and vodka since he's going to have a designated driver. And all jokes aside, Teddy, I can't wait to see you at the Westgate Superbook. Guys, again, if you're in town, if you live there, you want to come hang out with us, lots of personalities from WagerTalk as well as some of my local friends will be there. Teddy covers anything you'd like to leave our audience with.
Look, guys, we appreciate you so much. And if you could appreciate us, just give us a quick like. Doom, problem solved. Of course, visit my page, wt.buzz/TC. We do have a 5% big ticket. National TV action in MLB this afternoon. Dodgers, Phillies. It's the game that absolutely jumped off the page at me. And we're running real good right now. 11-2 all sports this week. 6-1 MLB run and primed to cash again tonight. So check out the page. Thanks for watching and good luck with all your bets on Saturday. Cheers.
Thank you for the reminder, Teddy. So Johnny Detroit does not text me. If you guys could please like and subscribe. We are almost at 200,000 subscribers. I think we need like 80 more. Just hit that subscribe button so you never miss another moment of WagerTalk TV. Tokyo Brandon in here. Just got him logged in and ready to go. He's got 3 baseball games he's going to go over for you guys. I'm just going to kind of let him do the VR thing where he just rattles them off because, well, until Ariel Epstein gets here, you're not going to have a host that knows anything about baseball. TB3 right now gets you 3 days, all access of Tokyo Brandon's MLB plays for just $39. Brandon, all right, we do have a baseball question. Let's get into some of your games first, because I think one of these, well, you know what? You do have Yankees Padres on the list, or Pirates, excuse me, Yankees versus the Pirates. And that is who Jessica wants to know. Do you like the Yankees minus 1.5?
So what's up, Kelly? Nice to see you. Last time you're hosting, I guess. So Enjoy your time in Vegas
It's
as
better
well.
for everybody, Brandon. Wouldn't you rather have a host that knows the sport that they're supposed to tee people up with? Maybe a starting pitcher, maybe a couple of outfielders. Ariel Epstein's going to do a great job. I promise.
I like you, but I like Ariel as well. I met her at our meet and greet the last time we had one in Vegas, and she's awesome. So you're both awesome. So Yankees and Pirates. This is a -1.5 is dicey. I really hate -1.5 run lines in Major League Baseball because there's nothing worse than being on the right side and still losing your bet, winning by 1 and having the right team and still losing. So I like to do -1s in this case. And in this case, you can shave off about 30 to 35 cents off of a run line or a money line. So in this case, a -1 is around -125 to -130. So to reward people who are watching the show, I'll just give out my 4% MLB play today. I was number 1 in profit in MLB in 2024, plus 150 units in 2024. So MLB is kind of my forte. My 4% play today is the Yankees -1. And this Jessica, she's a sweetheart. She told me that FanDuel does not offer a -1. So in that case, the late, great Dave Koken taught me a little betting trick where you can put half of it on the money line and half of it on the run line, and it's close to a -1. In reality, there's actually a little more math to it, but the quick math is just put half and half on that and bet that, and it's similar to a -1. Stroman is not a good pitcher, but look, it's kind of like what Teddy said earlier. If you have the worse starter but the better bullpen and the better lineup, it's usually a decent bet. And these Yankees are just crushing it right now. Falter, not a great pitcher. Pirates, one of the worst bullpens in all of Major League Baseball. So and actually one of the worst lineups in Major League Baseball at the moment. They have a few good names on their roster, but they're just their run production is really putrid right now. So I like the Yankees here. I'm going to take a -1. The good thing about a -1 is if your team wins, you don't lose your money. It's kind of like Pai Gow poker.
All right. Yes, we did see that the other night with the Dodgers. The Dodgers, everybody bet them on the run line. They end up winning the game by 1. Speaking of those Dodgers, looking at the odds logic screen, they look a little cheap today versus the Phillies, which usually has my spidey senses going off going, what am I missing here?
Well, you're missing the fact that Sasaki is starting for the Dodgers and Aaron Nola is starting for the Phillies. Aaron Nola is a good pitcher, but I think his name is bigger than his ability. It's not a slight on Aaron Nola. He is a good pitcher, but I have him ranked. I do rankings of about 300 starting pitchers, and I curve them to 30 so I can compare them apples to apples with the bullpen and the lineup because there's 30 teams. I have him ranked 16 out of 30. So he's a good pitcher, though. And if you look at his numbers against these Dodgers, amazing numbers. I mean, he has them to a sub 200 batting average and about a 566 OPS, if I'm correct. So OPS is a measurement that tells you how often people are getting on base and how well they're hitting off you. 700 is about the Mendoza line for OPS, and he's held them to a 566. And that's in 200 at-bats. So he pretty much dominates this Dodger lineup, which is the reason the line is what it is. You're not going to see very many -110 Dodger lines, but this one is actually justified. Sasaki in his first start, he walked in 2 runs in the first inning and he got pulled in the second inning. He had a horrible outing. I expect him to bounce back, though. And given Nola's success against these Dodger batters, I have 2 plays that I would play in this one. And the first one is first 5 innings under 4.5. I think that's a good bet because I think Sasaki's going to bounce back. And I think Nola is not going to get exploded on. So maybe 4 runs, but I doubt there'll be 5 in the first 5 innings. And the other bet I would take is Mookie Betts hits, runs, RBIs over 1.5. And the reason is because he has great numbers against Nola, and hits, runs, RBIs is a better bet than total bases because total bases, if your batter walks, it doesn't count as a base. Whereas hits, runs, RBIs, if your batter walks, he can still get knocked in by the next guy, and it counts for your prop. So those are the two ways I would go in this game.
All right, guys, if you have a question for Tokyo Brandon, please drop it in the chat. In the meantime, let's talk about this last game you wanted to showcase, Brandon, the Padres versus the Cubs.
Yeah, Padres and Cubs. So this one's interesting because we have two really good lineups, and we have Matthew Boyd going for the Cubs. And Matthew Boyd played for Detroit for a long time. Pretty good pitcher, actually. But the one thing he doesn't do is he doesn't really go very deep into games, which was shown in his first start. He only went 5 innings. Last season, at the beginning of the season, he didn't really go long. So I'm kind of looking, the Padres have been crushing it. I have them ranked number 9 in all of MLB for batting. I mean, Merrill, great hitter. Machado, they got really good hitters. Tatis leading off for them. Matthew Boyd's outs recorded prop is 17.5. And for those of you who are not familiar with the math of the outs recorded prop, basically you take the number that they're giving you and divide it by 3. So 18 divided by 3 is 6. So 17.5 means he has to finish 6 innings to get the over on that prop. I don't see Boyd going 6 innings in this game. He's usually at the beginning of the season, they take him out after 5. He kind of labors through his innings. He's one of those guys who throws 92 pitches in 5 innings. So I don't see him finishing 6 innings against this power-packed Padres lineup. So that's another bet I would do, is taking Matthew Boyd under the 17.5 outs recorded.
All righty. Looking for questions. We've got one from Razzle Dazzle Crypto. Isn't the over in the Tigers White Sox a given? Brandon, part of the reason why I've given up on baseball is because my White Sox are just an absolute and utterly dreadful team. So much so that I can't even claim that I've been a fan of them since I was a child. But yeah, Razzle Dazzle, just somebody who knows nothing about this White Sox team other than they're not any good already. I would be looking towards the over as well.
They haven't been any good for a while. Batting, they're in the lower 1/3. Bullpen, they're right at the Mendoza line. So they're actually a little better than most people give them credit for. A lot of people think they're the worst team in Major League Baseball. I disagree with that. I think the Colorado Rockies are worse than the White Sox because they have a worse bullpen, and they're not producing.
My other team growing up as a child. But I have the worst.
Colorado.
See, and herein lies KIV. Why don't you bet baseball? Why don't you like baseball? Well, because my teams suck.
Maybe you like purple. You like Kansas State, Colorado. Those guys.
Yeah, I think it was because
you
the
like
Denver
the Broncos too.
Broncos, right? Like the Denver Broncos proximity. My brother-in-law took me to the inaugural season in '93, so it kind of like shifted from White Sox to them, and then they, won a World Series. Well, the White Sox won a World Series, but look, it's been a really long time.
The Rockies are awful this year, and their bullpen is the main culprit for their being awful. Run production also is part of it. The White Sox are not quite as bad as people think. I think they're actually going to finish higher than Colorado this season. We'll see. Colorado does tend to play well at home, and they're starting to play at home now. So we'll see if they can squeak out a couple wins. I doubt it. 7.5 seems very low for this one. And doing a quick check on the bullpens, actually Detroit's bullpen, I have them ranked number 9 out of 30, and I have the White Sox ranked 15. So we have pretty decent bullpens, and Olson's not that bad of a pitcher. So it might go over 7.5, but not a lot over, I don't think. I'm not going to bet that.
All right, Brandon said no bet for him. Any thoughts about the Brewers? Come on, Titan CT, you got to help me out here. I don't have my odds logic screen open, so I don't even know who the heck the Brewers are playing because I have it. Well, now it's open.
They're playing the Reds.
The Reds.
Yeah, they're playing the Reds and Brady Singer. I see this is tough because both teams are not hitting right now, and especially the Reds. I think they got shut out. They're the first team in I don't know, 20 something years to lose 1-0 3 games in a row. So it's not really good for them. But actually looking, both teams rank really low in hitting. Milwaukee has a horrible bullpen. So I think Brady Singer's probably going to do some damage to them today. I don't see them winning this game. But given the fact that the Reds have horrible run production, I don't know. If the Reds break out, I might bet them. But there's no way I would touch Milwaukee with a 10-foot pole today. They're just not looking good. They don't have a good starter. They don't have a good bullpen. So not high on the Brewers today, to say the least.
WT.buzz. You can see Brandon's homepage over there. And as I mentioned earlier, guys, right now you can get 3 days, all access of his baseball plays. That includes Asian baseball as well. TB3. Coupon code TB3 gets you all access for just $39. Brandon, anything you'd like to leave our audience with today?
Yes. I already gave you my 4% play, the Yankees -1. I have 3 Korean baseball KBO plays out today as well. Those WagerTalk is gracious enough to allow me to do all my Asian baseball for half price. So those are half price every day, all year. So those are out at my page right there at wt.buzz/TB as well. I also made a video for a free play, which is up on the wagertalk.com site. As we speak, as we're recording this right now, they just sent me the link for that. So go catch that as well. And let's make some money. Number 1 in MLB in 2024. Number 1 all sports in 2024. Let's ride. Let's cash. Have a great weekend.
Awesome stuff. You can catch Brandon here most Saturdays during MLB season. As I mentioned, today is probably my last call if I can get Steve Merrill to fill in for me while I'm in Vegas next week. TBD on that. Then Ariel Epstein will start joining us on a very regular basis, minus a few holidays that she needs off. All right, guys. I hope you have a wonderful Final Four, a profitable baseball, MLB, or I guess MLB, NBA, UFC, and of course, NBA slate today. As VR likes to say, do damage. We'll see you guys during football season.